Living with a reactive dog can be one of the most stressful and isolating experiences. The constant barking, lunging on walks, the feeling of maybe being judged by others, the guilt you might feel of not being able to do as much as you would like with your dog. And on top of that, that horrible knot feeling in your stomach every time you see another dog coming around the corner. It can be entirely and completely overwhelming. And you probably start to dread walks, avoid other people, and wonder if you'll ever have a normal dog. Over the years, I've had the privilege of adopting and rehabilitating 6 reactive dogs that now live with me, formerly reactive dogs. Each one was unique, different breeds, different backgrounds, and different triggers. But through that journey, I started to see a pattern. I realized that the path to helping these dogs wasn't about finding some magic wand solution, but about understanding their fundamental needs and applying a few core concepts very consistently. And in this video, I'm going to share 4 of the most important lessons I learned from this experience. These aren't breed-specific tricks, they are foundational pillars that can help you transform your relationship with your reactive dog, no matter their size or history. So this is what I've learned. The first and most crucial lesson is that every dog, from a tiny Chihuahua to a giant Great Dane, has a set of innate instinctual drives. They were bred for jobs: hunting, herding, guarding. And when those instincts don't have a healthy outlet, they come out in unhealthy ways, like reactivity. One of the best ways to provide these outlets is through structured play. And I'm not talking about a chaotic game of fetch where we're just like willy-nilly chasing a ball repetitively. I'm talking about controlled rule-based games like tug of war, for example. A proper game of tug allows your dog to tap into their natural predatory drives in a safe and cooperative way. The key here is you control the game. You decide when it starts, you decide when it ends, and you enforce rules within that game, like an out or maybe a little bit of obedience. By doing that, you're not just tiring them out. You're teaching them that you are someone that they can have fun with and someone that can provide an outlet for their deep, innate instincts. You're going to fulfill a need that a simple walk around the block just can't satisfy. So to summarize, playing with your dog is phenomenal. Play tug and fetch, but make sure the game has rules so it's not just a means to tire your dog out. Okay, this next one might sound counterintuitive, but it's one of the most valuable skills you can teach a reactive dog. And it's actually the skill of being able to do nothing. Reactivity, at least partially, is a symptom of poor impulse control. The dog sees something and it must react. It can't handle the frustration of not being able to get to that other dog or person or car or whatever they're reactive to. And this is where something called tethering comes in. By tethering your dog to an immovable object for a short, supervised period of time, you teach them how to handle and process that frustration. They learn that maybe throwing a fit doesn't always get them what they want, and they'll eventually learn to settle autonomously. And to do this is super simple. You just start with a few minutes at a time. Once they chill out, you can either let them off the tether or give them something to chew on, for example. The goal isn't to punish them, but it's to build their tolerance for frustration, which is super important if you're trying to solve your dog's reactivity. A dog that can be calm when it can't get to what it wants is a dog that is far less likely to explode when it sees a trigger on a walk. You are building their emotional resilience one small session at a time. Okay, this one was a complete game changer for me. So many owners make the mistake of trying to socialize their dog when their dog is like full of pent up energy. They take their dog to a busy park to get that energy burnt out, and then they wonder why it ends up in a complete reactive fireball like disaster. Here's the golden rule for anyone with a reactive dog. Exercise and socialization, they're 2 separate things. You must drain your dog's physical energy and satiate their innate desires through play, or like just getting their steps in, or letting them have a really good sniff before you expect to socialize them and ultimately expect them to handle the mental pressure of a social situation. A physically tired dog, but on top of that, a dog that has had an outlet for their expressionative states, let's say, is going to be way more mentally receptive to being exposed appropriately to the world. So before you work on training your dog around triggers, take your dog for a play session, maybe a long walk, just getting the steps in, burn off that excess drive first. Then once they're in a much calmer, biddable state of mind, you can begin the work of changing their emotional response to those triggers. And finally, once you've ticked those 3 boxes, you have to work on changing your dog's emotional response to the triggers. The goal of socialization isn't to force your dog to play with every other dog or interact with every human they cross paths with. It's to teach them that maybe ignoring the triggers, staying calm around them, and ultimately focusing on you is the most rewarding thing they can do in that moment. This is where calm but controlled exposure, not necessarily interaction, and our marker training comes in. You want to find a distance where your dog can see the trigger but isn't reacting. This is called the threshold. And the moment your dog looks at the trigger and then maybe chooses to look away, or even just flicks a little bit of eye contact back towards you, you can mark that with your marker word, which I've talked about in loads of previous videos, and you can download our Behaviour Bible by clicking the link in the description, and it'll give you a step-by-step guide on how to do this. And we start reinforcing our dog's ability to disengage from these triggers. So essentially, you're at a distance from the other dog, and then your dog might look at the other dog. We can give a marker at that point. Or if they decide to look away from the other dog, we can give a marker at that point. Or even if they just decide to not look at the dog and look at you, we can also mark that behavior too. What you're essentially doing here is rewiring their brain and creating new neural pathways. You're teaching them that other dogs don't predict anything scary or exciting. They predict reward from you. Over time, your dog will start to see a trigger and automatically look at you thinking like, what are we doing next? You are making yourself the most important and rewarding thing in your environment to your dog in the presence of their triggers. I've just put together a free training for you guys on YouTube that'll show you all the mistakes you're probably making that you need to stop immediately. It's probably making your dog's reactivity worse. Take this down now. I'll show you the 3 biggest or like core exercises we implement with each and every reactive dog we work with, and how we're able to get these long-lasting results. And I'll also tell you what you need to look out for in a good trainer, or maybe a not so good trainer, and also essentially the step-by-step process you need to put in place if you want long-term results with your dog, and not just like quick fixes that maybe last a couple of weeks or a couple of months. Maybe you guys have experienced that, where, you know, results that we see like habituated long-term behavioral change. So if you want access to that free training, I don't know how long it's going to stay up for. Check the link in the description, sign up. Hopefully you don't miss it, and I'll see you there. Thanks so much. And I know it might sound overly simple, but I can promise you this sort of stuff genuinely works for even the trickiest of cases. And if you don't believe me, we put together a step-by-step case study of applying these same principles with one of the most reactive dogs we've ever met. And if you want to catch that video, click this right here, and I'll see you over there.